Hey, this is Nathan Motz, and you're listening to the Seleção podcast.
Simões bending one for Torres. Eusebio. Oh my word! Have you ever seen anything like that?
Bem jogado por Simão, a passar por dois adversários. Simão a tentar oferecer o golo a Figo e a bola é golo! O golo de Figo!
Rui Costa já acreditou, vai tirar para o golo, atira, golo! 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 Cristiano Ronaldo, vai embora Cristiano Ronaldo! Bateu, golo, 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 golo! Ronaldo! Obrigado, Cristiano! Vai Éder, chuta! Gol!
From the Zé Batista podcast desk, this is episode number 107 of the Seleção podcast. We are a proud partner of Portugal.net. I am, as always, your host, Danny Pinto. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this latest recording, this latest episode of the Seleção podcast, as we are going to be previewing the final two matches in World Cup qualifying, which all we need is likely just the point to get through, but there's 6 points out there, and if we can get more than one, I would greatly appreciate the Seleção doing that, as we are ever closer to finding out if the Seleção will qualify for the World Cup via being a group winner, and then next month, hopefully, we will find out where the Seleção will be playing in North America at next year's World Cup. Before we get started, I just want to let everyone know that we, of course, are brought to you via video and via audio. Again, YouTube, look for the Seleção podcast on YouTube. If you are listening to us the old-fashioned way, audio form, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, just search in whatever podcast aggregator that you use. Type in the Seleção podcast. Go ahead and subscribe to us and make sure you are locked in for every episode from here on out. Whether you have been a diehard guy from episode 1, or if you're just tuning in for the first time here on episode 107, we greatly appreciate the patronage you guys have given us over the last now, let's see, 2018. Well, let's do quick math, about 7.5 years. So greatly appreciate everybody tuning in. If you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead, hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button, hit all the buttons that you can to make the episode more visible to everyone on YouTube. And of course, if you're subscribing to us on audio podcasts, if you're nice enough to leave us a 5-star review, leave us a nice little note, that also helps us out being more visible. And it's all FREE. And if it's free, it's me, and I'll take 3. So with that, let's bring in our guest for episode number 107, and it is our good buddy, Nathan Motz. Nathan, what's going on?
Oh, just looking forward to closing out another successful qualifying campaign, hopefully without any nerves in these last two matches, but really, really excited to be on the show. And as always, the upcoming international break, it's makes me feel good to be a Seleção fan. Even though I'm still a little nervous about the draw next month, that's all right. We'll talk about that, won't we, Danny?
Yeah, we'll get there when we get there. And successful qualifying, that's kind of weird. Usually we leave these things to the end and even to playoffs, but hopefully the Seleção does take care of business here as they have 2 matches left to go. They are on 11 points. Let me see if I could bring up the standings here. But we are on 11 points. We checked that we're on 10 points. 11 would likely do it. As I'm just trying to fill here, as I'm clicking on stuff, I'm hoping I'm clicking the right one. Nope, there it is. All right, here we go. So this courtesy of the Seleção's Twitter feed right now. Portugal on 10 points, 3 wins, 1 draw. Hungary, we've beaten Hungary both times, so a head-to-head, we are ahead of them there. Republic of Ireland, which I came to find out, Nathan, and I did not get a chance to verify this, but one João Cancelo said that the national team has never won an official match in Ireland. So I'm going to double check that during this podcast. But Republic of Ireland, 4 points. They would have to win out to give themselves any kind of chance to win the group, and then Armenia has no chance of winning the group. We face the Republic of Ireland on the 13th, which is Thursday away, and then we close up things on November the 16th at home at the Dragão in Porto against Armenia. Hopefully, a celebratory way of ending things in Porto, as hopefully we don't need to have that match mean anything. But we are Portugal, and we have a way of making things just a little bit difficult than it needs to be. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's not that far removed really from the days when we were playing many of the same opponents and struggling terribly. So, still much to gripe and complain about, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But just thankful we're in the position that we're in.
You're on the wrong show, buddy. You're thinking about griping and dark clouding it over here. No, sir.
It's emotional. It's
never
emotional being a Seleção supporter. We got to be true to ourselves here in this community.
Well, you haven't gotten into specifics, but I mean, what are your thoughts heading into these last two matches for the national team?
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna miss Nuno Mendes for starters. That's definitely the start that shifts the way that this team plays tactically. We're not just gonna have to fill his role. We're gonna have to completely change the way we provide support for Cristiano. It destabilizes us defensively. We really don't, aside from him, we don't have great left back support. It makes me wonder, if Martinez is going to put Cancelo over there and run that whole gamut. We've tried this in the past with some mixed results. Some people on X were wondering, hey, where's Rafael Guerrero? He's actually been playing for Munich recently, not in the side. So it's going to be interesting to see how that. I mean, he's our key player, our best player, probably one of the top, I'd say at least top 5 best players in the world right now. So you take a guy like that out of the squad, completely changes everything. But that said, I think we're gonna get the points that we need, even if we draw in Ireland. Ireland have to get something from the match, so I think they're going to go pretty hard. That actually puts us in a pretty favorable position. They're going to be wanting to come out. People will probably remember the last match against Ireland was extremely cagey and very difficult until the last minute header from Ruben Neves to win us that match. But I think it's going to be a very different match because they need points. And then Armenia at home, I think is going to be a fairly routine finisher for this squad, and I'm very confident, very happy to say that.
We're talking with Nathan Motz here from Portugal.net. We're previewing the last 2 matches of World Cup qualifying as we put up the roster, and the roster has changed, but from the original announcement, goalkeeping has been pretty much similar the last few call-ups. Diogo Costa, José Sá, and Rui Silva. The defense is where we miss a guy like Nuno Mendes, who picked up a knock a couple weeks ago. He'll be out for at least, I think, a month or so. But again, there's a bevy of talent on the at the fullback position. Diogo Dalot, Nelson Semedo, João Cancelo. Also have Mateus Nunes, Ruben Dias, Gonçalo Inácio, Antonio Silva, and Renato Veiga. That closes out the. And it's interesting that they put Mateus Nunes listed as a defender. We may or may not cover that, but in the midfield, João Palhinha, Ruben Neves, João Neves, Vitinha, Bruno Fernandes, and Bernardo Silva, and then up front, one more, Pedro Gonçalves, and then João Félix, Francisco Trincão, Francisco Conceição, Rafael Leão, Pedro Neto, Carlos Forbes, which is a very interesting name, Gonçalo Ramos, and Cristiano Ronaldo close out the roster. Now, we mentioned that there have already been changes. Pedro Neto, he is out, not so much, from what I read, not so much for an injury, but almost like a prevention of injury. I know he's kind of still. I mean, Nathan, what do you think? Like he's maybe not all the way back fully physically from just the tumultuous couple of years he had prior to this last year, where injury after injury, and they weren't small, the injuries. So he's being out. He is out as a precaution, which always makes me wonder why, if they probably knew that, why bring him up in the roster? Because there is no, as of this recording, there are no replacements for either Pedro Neto and then the other player, Pedro Gonçalves. Those two players are out. There has not been a replacement called up for either of those players, which I always find interesting, given the bevy of talent that the national team does have, primarily at those positions. But what did you think of? I guess roster wise. Well, a couple of names, kind of. Let's talk about the kid, Carlos Forbes, because I saw his name and I'm like, oh. Well, he's been playing well, I believe in Belgium, club side,
Bruges.
but yeah, Bruges. Thank you. But then you also have, younger players that have already been called up before, like Giovanni Kenda or even Rodrigo Mora, who was part of the national, part of the winning team at the Nations League. So, what do you think of Carlos Forbes' call up here, and how much do we read into that call up at all?
I like having a young kid in the side just to adapt to the culture, but I think it just makes up the numbers really for me. He had a great match against Barcelona. I watched a little bit of that match. Terrifying pace, but it remains to be seen whether tactically you can complement the rest of the side. That left wing position is still, after all this time, it's fairly wide open. We talk about this a lot. Is it going to be Leao? Is it going to be Pedro Net? Someone else come in, but no one's really laid claim to it. And that really, to me, is why, even Pedro Net's, exclusion from the side, maybe a bit worrisome from him. It's almost as if they were saying, hey, we really don't need you that bad. We're going to go and win the match without you, which is to say, I think it's a reflection. Really, he's not improved the side as much as you might like being in that role. And so while I would like to see Carlos Forbes just for fun, it's really not time to mess with formations right now. I hope Martinez is going to take this role seriously, put the very best 11 on the pitch. If you're asking me, I hope Forbes gets a great experience with the side, but I hope he doesn't play a minute, because we need to get in there and be serious. We need to win these matches, and I think that he's a young guy that's going to have his chance if he maintains his form. 20 matches for Bruges this season, 5 goals, 3 assists, but really it's the performance against Barca as all of a sudden elevated. I mean, we've seen this before with certain players that they get called into the side, because of some performance, but it's really not the flash in the pan, theatrics that the side needs. We need like a stable, tactical, cohesive player who's going to complement the rest of the 11. And I can't really speculate as to how that would go right now. So I hope he gets some good experience, enjoys the matches, and then and continues his plight at club level to become the best player he can be.
Yeah, hopefully we see him perhaps on the field at the Dragão after we get 3 points in Ireland and close things out before we even need to step foot back on Portuguese soil for some sort of decisive match. One name that we have mentioned a couple of times here, and really with the absence of Nuno Mendes, but if we look back at September, the September matches, I'm not sure we get all 6 points without João Cancelo, and he is back in after again just a little bit of fitness issues in October, but he's back in. We've talked about him, and we've talked in the defense is something I want to talk to you about a little bit later. But when he is on, and when he is on offensively, he's deadly. He is a problem for the other team's defense. So seeing him back is, especially with Nuno Mendes out, is definitely a sight for sore eyes. What do you think his involvement and what his influence could be because you can't replace Nuno Mendes. But I mean, João Cancelo is not half bad. And if you have him and either Nelson Smith on the right side or Cancelo on the left and Diogo Dalot, I'm guessing, if I had to guess, a match that they need to win or would like to have a result so that there's no pressure in Armenia or against Armenia, I would guess they'd probably go with the back four, have Cancelo on the left, Nelson Smith on the right, and then probably Ruben Dias and Gonçalo Inácio. But just the reintroduction once again of João Cancelo back in, what do you think that does for this Seleção squad?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think he'll be on the left, and it's going to come down to which version of Cancelo do we get. And that's what we've been saying his whole career. I like the fact that he's had a break recently. That can do some things for one's confidence, one's physical approach to the match. I think the teams that we're playing, technically not as excellent, not as coherent, and maybe a little bit desperate too for points. And so I think that may open some things up for Cancelo to take advantage of. And what I really think we need the most from him is to replace the ability to cross the ball into central positions. That's what we're losing with Mendes the most, is those pinpoint crosses for Ronaldo. And whenever we struggle with that aspect of the game, Ronaldo isn't young enough anymore to create the opportunities centrally or carrying the ball in off the wing that he once did. So we need expert crossers of the ball, and that's what Cancelo can give you. That he can run hard at a defender, get to the byline, little trickery, drag the ball left and right, and in comes the cross. That's the type of play that we need. So with him in good form, I feel confident. But there have also been some defensive liabilities throughout his career. We've seen that before. Some frailties. Ireland in particular are a very physical opponent, and so that's going to be something that we'll still have to have good midfield support. I'm really happy to see João Neves back in the side. By the way, not to change the subject, but pairing him along Vitinha kind of creates a central fulcrum. That our fullbacks have a little bit more of a stability behind them to launch their forays into the attacking third. And so that gives me a little bit more confidence. Regardless of what Cancelo was doing, we're going to have the defensive cover we need.
You brought up so many things there, and like one of the things that I've wondered, and what we've wondered with past guests is, when Roberto Martinez was initially hired, what he mentioned, roster flexibility. He could play three in the back. He could play a traditional four in the back. He could go what he has, for the most part, gone with the 4-3-3. He could go 4-4-2. I think the issue right now is that we've always wanted to have some sort of maybe dominant defensive mid, and we thought maybe perhaps after the 2020 Euro that was going to be João Palhinha. I think he's capable, yeah. But given that there's so much talent, Nathan, in the midfield, the defensive mid kind of has gone by the wayside a little bit in terms of the initial start of things, where you have to have João Neves and Vitinha, on the field together. And I mean, João Neves, I guess, for almost becomes your default defensive mid, but he's so involved in the offense, it's probably not even an accurate statement. But then you have Bruno Fernandes, who you have to have on the field. Then the question becomes, all right, that's your three midfielders. Mm-hmm. What do you do with Bernard Silva? What do you do with a guy like Ruben Neves or a guy like João Palhinha, where those two guys have been sitting on the bench and could start easily on some other national teams at that position, but just the way things are going right now in terms of how the roster is made up and where the strengths are of the roster. What do you think of kind of like the conundrum in the midfield, which is, it's a good one to have because of the talent, but I think, what do you think of that? Of maybe what is the strongest you think is the strongest midfield that Portugal could provide? Would it be best with an added midfielder to make it 4 and then have 2 strikers up front? Could you have 5 and have a lone striker? What do you think would be best for the national team in the midfield?
I like kind of an aggressive looking 4-3-3, with ideally you have two high functioning wingers to support that. We've been waiting for Leao, Nets, Conceição, Trincao, someone to not just to show, one feat of skill, one nice cross, one nice goal, but really, play a full 90 and then do it again and then do it again, and give us that form. But we've all been asking for Palhinha for a long time. There was one sequence of play. I'm going to kick myself. I didn't write it down, but I remember seeing it. At the end of the September matches, Palhinha came in as a substitute, and he did what he always does. He broke down the opposition's attack. He needed to make one simple ball, one simple pass that would spring the counter, but he missed the pass. He just missed.
Mm-hmm.
Simple pass, he missed it. And when he missed the pass, I remember thinking, that's why he doesn't play. That's why he doesn't play. It's not because he can't break up the opposition's attacks. It's because he can't knit, and like, I know a lot of people say, hey, we don't need him to do that. We got Vitinha for that. Right. And that's fair. But modern
you don't need him until he has the ball at his feet and and he's asked to do it. Right.
Yeah. And modern football is just not like this anymore, where you have one creative guy, a number 10, that just, a Ronaldinho, a Deco, that's, I'm showing my age there a little bit, but Zidane, you don't have.
You're getting older.
Yeah, I know. It's killing me. But we don't play this way anymore in modern football, right? You don't just have one central creative outlet and then a destroyer next to him, a Gattuso, for example, to complement, Pirlo for, you don't have that. So you need all of your players to be able not just to play strong defensive ball at a high energy level. You need them to be able to creatively stitch play together. Palhinha can't do it. So we see Neves, and Neves, what he gives you, in my opinion, not a great defender. We all know that, but he's got a long ball on him.
If only we can mesh both those gentlemen. Yeah.
Yep. But this ain't a video game. You know what I'm saying? We can't take player A and player B and mix their attributes and create a super player. It don't work that way. And we've seen in the past, really people argue about Bruno and Bernardo too in the same way. Bruno, he brings your risk taking, your adventurous, avant-garde approach, and Bernardo's more of your possession guy. It just doesn't work in practice as well as we all want, And so Bernardo gets moved out to the wing, Bruno stays centrally, and it doesn't really work. And so that's going to be a problem Martinez is going to have to solve, not just in these qualifiers. It's really going to matter how he does it next summer when we're playing real opponents. And all the questions I see from supporters on social media are like, yeah, this is all well and good. We're playing Armenia and Ireland and all that. But what's it going to be like when the squad is tactically inept? It's imbalanced and not functioning well against a top opponent, Argentina, God forbid, or Brazil or Spain. There's a lot of England. I hate to say it. England is they're poised.
They're figuring it out.
They are.
Yeah,
so
they're figuring it out.
And we can wander off topic with that. I think the solutions in midfield are fun to speculate about, but it really, to me, it's playing against the opponents that we're playing here, it's going to be a little bit deceiving. We're going to have more possession against Ireland. We're going to have more possession against Armenia. It's going to be a different game, which is why I still like Portugal and what I think is kind of a traditional, almost like a national identity of the 4-3-3 that is ready to hit opponents on the counter. And we have some wingers that can help with that. We have Nuno Mendes when he's fit. But in matches like this, I don't know that we're going to see that version of the Seleção. But maybe Martinez will surprise me. Who knows?
Yep. We're talking with Nathan Motz here of Portugal.net on episode number 107 of the Seleção podcast. So without Nuno Mendes, let's play devil's advocate. Let's say that it's João Cancelo on the left. Let's go back four. We're going João Cancelo on the left. We're going let's, for the sake of argument here, Nelson Smith on the right in terms of fullbacks.
Mm-hmm.
How much does not the midfield, but the winger pairing up top. How much of that plays into who goes and plays that winger pairing, given who's behind you?
Yeah.
Would it be best to have, or who would be best, I should say, to play on the same side as João Cancelo? Who would be best to play on the same side as Nelson Smith? Given the options, who do you think would probably be best to be put on the sides of those proposed fullbacks, potentially against Ireland and Armenia?
Well, I'll tell you who I'd prefer, and then I'll tell you who I think we're going to see. So we'll do it that way. It's fun to speculate, isn't it? Though, I remember the last time Cancelo played, and he was just phenomenal. I groaned when I saw the starting 11. It was Cancelo with Bernardo Silva ahead of him on the right, and I thought,
yes.
Oh my, and at the beginning of the match, the first match, Bernardo was struggling a little bit, and with the overlap, Cancelo was just fantastic on the overlap. Bernardo was struggling a little bit for pace. He doesn't have the pace to run hard on the wing. That's been my case for his whole career. But in the end, it didn't matter. Cancelo was just that good. So, if he's on the left, I think we will see Leao. That's what I think. And the only thing I don't like about that is Leao doesn't do defensive cover well. So to me, that might create a little bit of hesitancy in Cancelo to get forward. He may be thinking, hey, Leao's not going to get back, so I got to be ready to cover down. Who I would like to see, I actually think Pedro Neto would work better with João Cancelo. I think,
but he's not available, Nathan.
He's not available. Exactly.
Come on, we got to pay attention.
I know, I get it, but that's who I'd like to see. I think on the other side, Semed is probably going to be, paired with maybe Francisco Conceição. Trincao works too, but really, I think all the traffic is going to come down whatever side Cancelo's on. And let's remember too, Leao. We talk about how he wastes a lot of the opportunities he gets, but when he's another player. When he's on, he's unstoppable. Some of the highlights of him recently, I've seen that spark starting to come back a little bit. I think he's a significant confidence player. If he loses it, he can't play. But when it comes back, he just runs past everybody. Nobody can catch him. So I'm hopeful we'll see that version of him. Either way, I just don't think that the sides that we're facing are going to be able to put us under enough pressure to where we're really gonna struggle that bad. That's my opinion.
Gotcha. Let's head to the defense, and I had Eric Krakauer on our last episode, and towards the end of the episode, we were both in agreement that, and this, we're not breaking news here. The defense still leaves a lot to be desired in terms of consistency. We still don't have a number one pairing. But then Roberto Martinez then does the defense, I think, no favors when he goes to a back three. I think this, and it's so funny, Nathan. I think for years we were yelling for a back three, and we've come to find out we don't have the horses to do it. Nope. But there's inconsistency with the top pairings. There's inconsistency, if we're being frank, with the top defensive center guy, with Ruben Dias. I don't think he's played. I don't think he's played poorly, but I don't think he's been exceptional as he was when he first came on the scene, and that had a lot to do with Pep probably giving him the ability to be maybe a tad more aggressive, or a tad bit riskier, knowing he had the security blanket behind him. I don't know if Ruben Dias is that security blanket right now for anybody. But we also talked about, and Eric mentioned it, I believe it towards the end. He still has some question marks regarding Diogo Costa in terms of balls in the air, decision making. And it kind of leaves him, and the more I thought about it, it leaves me a little bit, a little unsure. Again, it's not bad, but it's just, I guess, maybe good enough. In your opinion, what is maybe the biggest cause for concern? Is it our center back situation, or would it be our goalkeeping situation?
I think it's center backs that we just haven't had an established pairing for so long, and it doesn't help that, looking back through Martinez's tenure, we've tried all different kind of variations, the back threes, the back fours, if you remember. I don't like to remember, of course, but there was a time when we had, I don't know what it was, but was it a back three or back four? Anyway, we had like two left backs on the left side of formation. Nuno Mendes was out there and Cancelo was out there, and they're both.
I believe so. Yeah,
that was in. I want to say it was in Euro 2024 when we saw that, and it just didn't work, And so I think
we also had João Neves in the semifinals and finals of the Nations League playing right back. That was fun.
Unconscionable decisions. I mean, how are you going to, one of PSG's brightest, talents to come through in years, and that's really saying something too, because PSG's got a lot of really talented players right now. But we're trying to deal with that and the loss of Pepe. I just think we look unsure every time a team crosses the ball.
Maybe that's the perfect word, unsure.
Yeah.
I think that's a perfect way to summarize. They're unsure. Yeah, unsure is that's a great word.
I mean, what made Pepe excellent, and the reason why Diaz was able to be as good as he was alongside him was Pepe was never out of position. And Pepe too would get bored. We always joke he would get bored at the end of a match and go running around playing forward and every other role on the pitch, and he was great there too. But he was always somehow in position to make the last tackle. It was like you never had to worry about who was going to be there. Diaz now doesn't have that, and he's got these younger guys who are they're still trying to make their way at their clubs. Vega, Gonzalo Inacio is not a bad player. He's shown that he's got a pretty good through ball on him. He's got some headers in his cabinet.
I don't understand, me personally, Nathan. I don't understand why Roberto Martinez just hasn't pulled the trigger on that pairing of Inacio and Ruben Dias and set them out there for a consistent amount of time. I know Inacio had picked up a knock. I don't recall now if it was the previous call-ups but he hasn't been in consistently. Some Martinez's decisions, some has been a fitness thing, but to me, I think you just pulled the trigger to figure out if it's that or not. And if it's not, then you have to move on. Renato Vega, we've seen him in spurts, not enough. I still am very wary of Antonio Silva getting called up, because even though it was a nothing game for all intents and purposes against Georgia, that young man looked like he was completely not ready for the moment. And he plays at a big club in Benfica. They're struggling. That's another story.
Yep.
But I don't think he's ready yet. So I think by default, you should go Ruben Dias and Gonzalo Inacio. And again, see what you have for a consistent, like 3, 4, an entire qualifying period. You don't have that right now, but let's see what happens in these last 2 games. I would love to see those 2 players together. Even if the Armenia game means nothing, I still think you need to just find the cohesion there with your center backs, because I think you say unsure. I would say, I guess the term I would use would be just lack of cohesion, because there's no unity right now. And they're unsure, like you said, in the back. I mean, so I think you nailed it right on the head there.
I still think, we talk about Diogo Costa as well, whether he's confident, to deal with the relatively few chances that he's had to deal with, in these qualifiers. I still think that whether we're talking about Costa or the central defensive pairing, it's still defense is conducted all over the pitch. It shouldn't just be down to those 2. I do think we need a lot more consistency, and Martinez has got to stop trying to find the perfect answer and just go with a pretty good answer, and I think he struggles with that psychologically, let's just say. So But I think if we can create a better system to defend the crosses in the first place, looking back at the goals we've given up, a lot of them originate from poorly defended crosses from wide positions, and that's just textbook poor defensive football. And it's not going to matter who your central defensive pairing is. I remember there were a couple times when I think it was Ruben Neves and Coutinho that had dropped back to defend these deep crosses too. That's tactically inept, to have that as your go-to. So, I think Martinez has got some stuff he's got to clean up, and hopefully we'll see that in these two matches.
We're talking with Nathan Motz here of Portugal.net as we preview the match against Ireland away November 13, and then November 16 home to Armenia. The final two matches in World Cup qualifying, as Portugal are so close to marking their place in next summer's big tournament, a tournament of 48 teams. Nathan, 3 countries, 48 teams. Just let everybody in, man.
No,
let's just go. I would say do knockouts for however many teams there are in the world. I would say the top 24 get a bye. Everybody else goes a single elimination, and then that's how you fill the rest of the 32. But what do I know? I'm just a lowly podcaster from Sacramento, California.
Let's do it.
The ratings would be banana, and it's all ping pong balls. We could have like the Netherlands and Italy in a first round knockout game with like four rounds still to play. It'd be amazing.
Wow.
It'd be amazing. Let me see if I can find the record here against Ireland, because not Roberto Martinez, João Cancelo mentioned that in an interview. I think it was today, as we are recording here on November the 11th. And by the way, November 11, Veterans Day here in the United States. If there are any veterans who are listening to us, who follow the show, please, my sincerest thanks for the sacrifice and the service you provide our nation here in the United States. It does not and should not ever go unnoticed. And just what you guys do to keep us all safe, to allow someone like myself to provide for my family, and then also do stupid shit like this podcast, which hopefully, if you're a veteran, kind of gives you a reprieve of wherever you're at. But my thanks to you. I'm sure Nathan thanks you as well. Everybody thanks you, and we greatly appreciate the service and the sacrifice that goes with, I should say, serving our beloved country. So now I forgot where I was going. The looking of the matches here. So Portugal has 10 wins, 4 losses, and 3 draws. These wins are, let's see, away, that's a draw. Away, that's a loss. That's a friendly. That's a draw away. Friendly. Yeah, loss at home. Yeah, we have not done it. So let's do it, Nathan.
I agree.
Let's end this national tragedy. Let's end this national tragedy of never beating Ireland in Ireland. Let's end it on the 13th of November.
I agree. I always think that, there was that one match in qualifying when we won in the pouring rain, but that was against Northern Ireland. I forget that,
which is different.
Which is very different. Ronaldo scored a hat trick in that one. So now we just need to win this one in Dublin. And I think it's going to be an extremely difficult match for them, needing to at least secure a point. But ideally, they need to win, because their final match, I believe, is against Hungary, and Hungary have pole position on them right now. So Ireland desperate for points.
Before we let you go, I wanted to get your thoughts on. Let's see. Oh, where did it go? Right there. What do you think of this bad boy? That is so nice.
That's sick.
This is courtesy of a football shirt culture on Twitter here, but that is so nice.
I love, every time Portugal, have a black jersey made.
Look at that presentation. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Oh, if you're watching us on YouTube, please take a gander. Well, I mean, obviously you are, but that is super nice.
They've done well. They've done well with it. I gotta hand it to Puma there. It's nice.
Puma's been nice so far.
Yeah, they've been good.
Puma's been real nice. But yeah, that black. So I think I might be in the minority here. And I'll get I'll love your thoughts on this too. I love a jersey with a collar.
Mm.
I think the collar is very old school.
Mm-hmm.
I think the collar there works phenomenally.
Mm-hmm.
I think the color scheme with obviously it's an entire black jersey. The Black Panther, that was Eusebio. But I think just the subtleness of the green and the red, but the gold I think is what sells it right here. The gold is such a perfect marriage in that jersey. And of course it's to celebrate Eusebio's 1965 Ballon d'Or victory. One of 1,965. There's only 1965 of those. So
Wow.
I happen to get this one here.
Hey.
That was the 100-year anniversary of the Federation's first match. I think I might have to pull the trigger on the Eusebio one.
Man.
Christmas is coming, wife.
There you go.
Just putting it out there in the ether. But yeah, it's a sweet jersey.
Reminds me of the old. There was I think it was the third jersey back in, was it 06 or 08?
06, yeah.
It's I have
Nathan, keep talking. I might have it. Hold on.
Yeah, it's black with like a gold braid on the sleeves, and it's really simple, but I think it's one of their most effective, cleanest looking jerseys. I still wear it. It's great.
We didn't wear it enough.
Hey, yeah,
there it is.
Yeah,
and again, the gold is the detail that is just but there it is. Yeah, there it is.
Yep,
I used to be able to wear this. But yeah, that jersey, the Puma jersey. Again, Puma's been doing great. I think the rumored home jersey for next year, I think has some sort of correlation with waves.
Mm-hmm.
And from what I've seen on footy headlines, I think on Twitter, is where you kind of get a sneak peek of that. I think it looks super dope. I think Puma's been very, very good so far in terms of design. The white jersey, the current white jersey, is very nice.
Yeah, very nice.
And the simplicity of the home jersey. Again, it's almost like with club teams, the home jersey is always going to be like kind of the same. You know what color it's going to be. It's going to be red. Yeah. If it's Manchester United, it's going to be red. If it's Tottenham, it's going to be white. If it's Benfica, it's going to be red. If it's Sporting, it's going to have the same thing with Port. But it's always like, okay, what's that second jersey going to look like?
Yeah.
What's that third jersey going to look like? Some teams have four. It's like the Oregon Ducks of soccer. So, but I think that jersey is super clean, and appreciate. We used football shirt culture on Twitter. Follow them on at football shirt. That's FOOTBALLSHIRT. I know I could have got that from probably the Puma website, but that was the first one that I saw. So thanks to them for that. Any final thoughts, sir, before we let you go?
Yeah, looking forward to the matches. I will have the player ratings articles up for us all to debate about post match for all interested. Just remember Portugal.net. They got the godfather of Portuguese football himself, Tom Kundert, still running the site after all these years. Is phenomenal.
Good guy.
It's and a great person. So looking forward. Just want to say, don't want to get my count my chickens before they hatch, but I'm already thinking through plans to possibly cover at least some of this World Cup campaign for Portugal.net, given that that is being held in the United States. So I'll be talking with with Tom about accreditation through FIFA for that. And
sweet.
If the Lord allows, is what I always say. That's going to be the plan to go and follow the Portuguese national team around Canada, U.S., Mexico, wherever they end up. So more to follow on that. But I just wanted to announce those plans are in the works.
Again, putting something else in the ether. So here's what we have in the ether right now. My wife getting me the Eusebio jersey for Christmas. You know, my birthday is 2 weeks before Christmas, and I'm not one of these. I'm not one of these cats who get their birthday and Christmas, you know, intertwined. I want both days. All right, I deserve it.
Yeah.
I get both days. But
I feel you.
Two things in the ether: the jersey, and then Nathan corresponding officially, accreditedly. That's not a word. In next summer's big tournament, March of next year, U.S. and Portugal in Atlanta. Do you plan on heading out there?
Yeah, and the wife and I are actually talking about that too. So, and I'm gonna try. I have actually covered a few friendlies before in the United States years ago, but I haven't had the bandwidth to take that on. But if work allows, that's something that I definitely want to do as well.
Yeah, I'm going to try. I'm going to try and see if I can make March work. Because listen, I don't know if you've heard, tickets are not cheap for these matches, and I will gladly take a friendly than nothing, even if I have to drive, even if I have to fly all the way to Atlanta and do so. But yeah, you know what? First things first. Let's qualify for the tournament. Let's make sure that that game in Atlanta is not the first game that we see, or not the only game that we see Portugal in the United States in the calendar year of 2026. And wherever the world takes us, Nathan, let's get there safely and always with a nice Portuguese smile on our face.
That's right. Thanks for having me. I just want to say to everyone, it's a joy to still be in this community. Guys like Danny, all the supporters that I constantly see interacting, leaving comments on articles after all these years doing this. It's been about 15 years for me at this point. I love it just as much as I did the first day. And
that's awesome.
To every article I get to write, every conversation I get to have on X or whatever they're going to call it in the future. I love you guys, and I'm out.
Hell yeah, Nathan. Forza, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, we got a little supporter here.
Yeah, we got the next generation. He's even got the Portuguese red. Look at that.
Nice. What does the supporter have a name, sir?
This is Camden, my youngest.
Camden, what's up, dude?
Hello. Hello.
Did he say hola?
Yeah, I think you did actually. Yeah.
Beautiful. Hola, Camden. Love it. Camden, who's your favorite soccer team?
Okay. Good to see you, man. I'll be up in a minute. Yeah.
You know what, guys? I see what's going on. Nathan's afraid that Camden's going to take his spot.
A little. I have to admit, a little. No,
I see. You know what? Hey, you know what? They got to earn their keep. They can't just come into an interview and just try to take over. That's not all right.
That's true. You got to earn his stripes. You know what I mean?
Hell yeah.
I was in Ukraine covering the Seleção. Okay, I earned this.
Hey, Camden, have you gone to Ukraine to see Portugal play yet? I don't think so. All right, buddy. All the best to you and the family, and we'll talk soon.
Okay. Thanks, Danny.
All right, guys, and that will do it here for episode number 107 of the Seleção podcast. My thanks to Nathan Motz and Camden for joining us here as we previewed the two matches for the last two qualifiers for World Cup 2026. Again, November the 13th against Ireland away, and then November the 16th at home against Armenia. That will take place at the Dragão. A win against Ireland, which we have never done in Ireland in an official match, but a win in Ireland would guarantee us the group and would make that game against Armenia meaningless in terms of World Cup qualifying. But again, all to play for this national team as always, and we can't thank you guys enough for making time out of your day to enjoy the podcast, whether you're watching us on YouTube or listening to us via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any of your podcasting aggregators. Again, also at Seleção Pod on X on Twitter, also at Seleção Pod on Instagram, facebook.com/Seleção Pod, and you can email the show seleçãopod@gmail.com. Go ahead and go and bookmark our website, seleçãopod.com as well. All right. Again, my thanks to Nathan Motz for joining us here on episode number 107 of the Seleção Podcast. We are a proud partner of Portugal.net. And as always, Força Portugal!